Okay, if you are a Chicago Bears fan, finally we have something to smile about after watching them beat the brakes off of the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. And here to talk to me about it is Fox 32 sports reporter Chris Kay, who's with us in the house. Chris, you're smiling. This is a good start to the week, right?
I mean, if you're a Bears fan, it's a fantastic start to the week. Not only did they win by 17, but you watch the Green Bay Packers lose in dramatic fashion to the Cleveland Browns at home. That's tough, but if you're a Bears fan, it's great for you.
It was really good. What did you think about Caleb Williams' performance? He tied his career high with 4 touchdown passes. And then this was really good for Coach Ben Johnson, too, getting his first win here with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I think what we saw was Caleb opening up a little bit more, and I think Ben Johnson got to open up the playbook a little bit more. We saw the flea flicker obviously was a big play, but those are the kinds of plays that Ben just kind of has tucked in his playbook, and we haven't seen those the first couple of weeks, but we starting to see them now because I feel like the trust with Caleb's getting there. It's getting where it needs to be, but also the confidence that Caleb has in this offense. And you saw a lot of it yesterday when I went back and kind of watched some of the film where he just looked comfortable. Obviously it helps when you're going up against the Dallas defense, which the pass rush isn't really their thing. Obviously, they have Kenny Clark, who kind of was plugging the holes in the run game, but in the past game, they were able to get confident, they were able to get settled, and Caleb was looking really comfortable. And I think that's the big thing that we're going to start to see, and I think that's the thing that you need to see carrying over to next week, too.
Yeah, I saw those first 2 back-to-back touchdowns, and I was like, am I really seeing this? You know, because I hate to say it, you know, as a Bears fan, sometimes you don't want to put all your eggs in a basket, but I was like, are my eyes deceiving me? And when I watched it play back, I'm like, no, they really did that. At what point when you were watching did you feel like the Bears are definitely going to win this? Because we have seen them have a really good start, and then it all drops out at the end.
Yeah, I think when you go back to the Minnesota game, you start thinking, when is a drop off going to start to happen? And that's usually a thing with the new coaching staff. We saw that against Minnesota, where in the second half they just couldn't find any momentum. But I think right at the end of the third quarter, when he throws that 4th and goal touchdown to DJ Moore, you're like, okay, they have this. It's in the bag. They're going to win by multiple scores. And Dallas at that point just couldn't do anything on offense. And it's also a big testament to Dennis Allen, a guy that we were looking at, especially after last week, giving up 52 points to the Lions. We're thinking, well, is this really working? Is this scheme working? What needs to be better? But it all came together too. The pass rush with the coverage, with the linebackers, and every single level of the defense played well to the point where they were able to hold off Dallas, which, although 14, 17 points doesn't really show, is a very good offensive team. Brian Schottenheimer is a really good offensive coach. So being able to do that, big for the Bears.
Let me ask you about momentum. Let me ask you. I just realized how much I say that, Chris. But anywho, when it comes to momentum, we watched that 65-yard touchdown to Luther Burden. Do you think like momentum played a key role in this? Like, because I know sometimes we talk about the Bears starting really good and then ending really bad. What did you think about the momentum in this game?
I thought that when it picked up with that long touchdown to Luther, I think that was the moment where the Bears are starting to be like, hey, like, when we start to open things up, we can make it work. But I think after that, Dallas did come and tie it up. They was a 14-14, but I think at the end of the half, I think when you talk about situational football, that was the biggest thing. It played a little bit more of a factor than momentum, as we talked a lot about it through training camp, where they're thinking, hey, situational football at the end of half, going into the third quarter, there's that middle 8 span, last 4 minutes of the second quarter, first 4 minutes of the third quarter, and the Bears won that this week. And I think that played dividends of not just momentum, but just confidence of like, hey, we can win this, and if we win this, then we're sitting pretty in the last second half of the game. But you don't get to that position unless you get big plays. And I think that big touchdown by Luther Burden, a flea flicker, which if you go back and you watch it, the pitch back from DeAndre Swift wasn't great. It was kind of a pop-up, is what he told reporters after the game. And but Caleb was able to get it and just fire just a rope down the sidelines, and I think that's because the pass protection was great. It held up.
It was.
But also Luther's able to make a fantastic play. I mean, I've seen that when I was covering Mizzou. Luther's done that plenty of times, and he's going to keep doing that here in Chicago too.
What do you think the biggest challenge is for the Bears going into this next game?
It's always going to be about consistency, and I talked about this with a lot of players in the locker room last week as I was getting ready for this game, and they had those moments and those flashes of brilliance where you can see it put it all together, especially in the beginning of games where Ben Johnson's offense was scheming drives, the first 15 scripted plays or so. They look great. They look fantastic. You're kind of like, okay, now we're starting to see what this is supposed to look like. But after that, you got to find a way to keep it consistent. And I think the Bears are able to do that. And I think that's the key for next week, too, which is a Raiders team which yesterday got beat up by the Commanders 41-24. So they have a chance to really continue that momentum going into the bye week. And if you can find a way to bottle up that consistency and have it, especially not on the offensive line, but the defensive line as well, which had a really good game yesterday, I think that's what the Bears want to do, and that's priority number one going into the Vegas Raiders game.
I was looking at, a lot of haters out there, kind of stunned, I think a little shocked. And when I say haters, I'm talking about the Cowboys fans. They were a little shocked to see the Bears pull out this win. And some people were saying, oh, well, it was just luck. It was just an, off day for the Cowboys. What do you think? What do you think was really the consistency on the field that led the Bears to this win? If you could pinpoint maybe what you saw, you said you were talking to the players during the week. What appeared to be consistent with the Bears this time?
I think it was just the trust in the system and also the patience that they had. I think I was talking to center Drew Dahlman about it, and before that, I was talking to head offensive line coach Dan Rochar, and he was kind of saying, "Hey, like we see these flashes out of these guys, and when they're fundamentally sound, they're great, but it's all about staying there. In it's a tough game because you can't be fundamentally sound every single play, but you can do your best to try to make that the norm." And the Bears did that on Sunday. I think the offensive line didn't have a pre-snap penalty. That was a big thing. That's a big reason why they were able to sustain that momentum and also that offensive success throughout the game. And I think on defense too, when you're able to rush the passer and kind of confuse and kind of harangue the passer or the quarterback a little bit like that, then you're going to find success. And I think that's the point where you start to look back and think, okay, well, it's not luck because they went out and executed. And I think that patience is what was started to pay off because we saw it in the first two games. We saw some of the success, and obviously it was overshadowed by losses. But in this specific moment, you're like, hey, this is a game they needed to win, and they went out and win it.
Yeah, they did. And it was so, I don't know about you, but like being a Bears fan, just waking up in the morning after a win, it just feels different. And then when you run into other Bears fans, the conversation is different. Obviously, we had Chase Bandelick on our show. He was running every time they lost. I'm sure he was relieved as well. So it's just a different feeling when your team is winning.
Yeah, and especially yesterday, and I wrote about this last night too, where this is one of the most satisfying wins I think you could have had if you were a Bears fan. Not only did they beat the Cowboys, which is America's team, they beat them by 17, and they hung 31 points on their old head coach, the guy that, Chicago Bears fans don't revile Matt Eberflus, the person. They just want to distance themselves away from the Matt Eberflus era. And I feel like this was a game that was able to accomplish all of that while also showing like, hey, we got something cooking here. The Bears do have something cooking here. And also when you go back and look at what the Lions were able to do last week, but also what the Vikings did yesterday too, like they look pretty good with a backup quarterback against the Bengals, where you have to start to think, hey, maybe that's a really good team. The Bears just didn't seal the deal when they should have. But that's okay, because now you're starting to learn a little bit more about what the Bears can do, what they need to do. And I think going into Monday, you're just kind of looking around like, you know what? I think it's going to be all right. I think Caleb Williams is going to be all right. I think the offensive line is going to be all right. Not to quote K-Dot a lot, but I mean, we're going to be all right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you think that maybe in part, because some of the players, they kind of know Eberflus, they kind of know his plays. Do you think that was an advantage here as well?
I think there's a little bit of that of like,
Yeah.
They understood the offense, they understood the defense, and how that kind of correlates a little bit when you think about the coverage schemes that Eberflus ran last year. There's going to be some soft points in that defense, and I think Caleb Williams, who practiced against that defense all last year, kind of understood what to look for and what to do. But I also think that when I was, we were talking to players in the locker room kind of leading up, because that was a storyline. That was like, hey, you're going to face your old coach. What's that going to be like? A lot of players just kind of like, it'd be nice to see the guys. It'd be nice to see some old coaches say hi. But I think they just kind of left it as it was because of like, okay, we're moving on. It's a new era. It's new for everybody, and it is supposed to be new. And I think distancing themselves a little bit was kind of what helped especially. But I feel like that kind of played a little bit into yesterday's game too.
I agree. Okay, so here's my final question for you before we let you go. Prediction on a score next or this coming week? Is it this week?
Wow.
Technically,
yeah. They play the Raiders on Sunday, and I think it's a really good question because the Raiders look really good in the first week against the Patriots, but I think last week we started to see some of the cracks in that foundation there, where they had a first-year head coach too.
10 seconds, Chris. Give me the score.
Give me Bears 24-21.
Perfect.